For as long as Pokemon's been around, Pokemon fusions have been a very hot topic in the fanbase, and have been the subject of more fan art and fan games than you can shake a Sudowoodo at. But no fan game does it quite like Pokemon Infinite Fusion, a game that lets you freely fuse hundreds of different Pokemon.
Milking.
Wait, how many combinations are there in this game? 70s? Wow! They don't even have every Pokemon! Now you might be thinking, Skella, how can they possibly have a custom sprite for every single fusion in this game? The answer is they don't. Art-wise, Pokemon Infinite Fusion is very community-driven. Every custom sprite in the game is made by a community member who submitted their artwork themselves. The game is constantly getting updated with more and more custom sprites that the community has made. What about the Pokemon that don't currently have a custom sprite? What do you put in the game then? Well, when a Pokemon in Infinite Fusion doesn't have a custom-made sprite, they instead use the auto-generated sprite made by Japeel.com, which has varying degrees of success. Now, because Pokemon in this game only get custom sprites when somebody in the community decides they want to draw a fusion between those two Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon fusions get picked last, or just not at all, because nobody wants to make them. Think about it this way, when somebody gets the opportunity to contribute to this game, they're gonna think first and foremost about what the coolest thing they can possibly make is. Like, Gyarados and Ninetales does have a custom sprite because that sounds awesome. Those are two very popular and very cool Pokemon that I would love to see the fusion of. But nobody's first thought is to make a Stunfisk and Grotle fusion, because who wants that? I do. I want that. And that's what I'll be doing in today's video, making the Pokemon fusions that nobody else wanted to. I know this intro's already long, but I have a few more things I need to get out of the way before we get into the meat. Firstly, this is just a design exercise. I have absolutely no desire to actually submit these designs to Pokemon Infinite Fusion. If you want to make sprite work of these designs and submit them to the game, I don't care. I fully support it. You can go ahead and do that. Secondly, I'm not even going to attempt the Sugimori style. People that can do that are very powerful and I'm scared of them. I'm just going to be drawing in my regular art style. Alright, let's jump in with our first weird unwanted fusion, Electivire and Yamask. Now, originally I was only gonna do like 2 or 3 of these fusions, but because they ended up being so simple, I decided to make a full team of 6, so you guys are eating good this video. So for Electivire, I pretty much knew right off the bat what I wanted to do. It's just applying some of Electivire's features onto Yamask, like turning his little tail into Electivire's wires, and geez, these names get you tongue-tied really fast. Anyway, originally I was gonna turn the mask into an Elekid face, but then I thought I could turn it into a little charging port, because a lot of people say that outlet ports look like little faces, and I hope that's not too big of a stretch because I'm not changing it, and I like it. By the way, you're gonna see me hit like the completely wrong button a lot during these speed paints, and that's because whenever I screen record for these, I get like really weird stage fright and fumble a lot. So I swear I don't normally draw like that. I've been doing digital art nearly my whole life. I swear I know what I'm doing. Anyways, here's Electivire. I love him. He's very simple, but I'm very proud of how he turned out. I want to pat his head and feed him batteries. Our next fusion is Skarmory and Cacturne. I was actually pretty surprised to learn that nobody's done this fusion yet, and then I remembered that nobody gives a shit about Cacturne. I have to do everything around here. So the first thing I noticed when I looked at these two is that Cacturne's hat thing kinda looks like Skarmory's crest, so I thought fusing those attributes together would be pretty easy and result in something very, very badass, and I was right. The rest of the fusion making process pretty much just consisted of me putting Cacturne in some cool knight's armor. I made his mouth hole things look like the openings on a knight's helmet, and I also gave him big, scary claws. The rest of this is just me struggling to figure out where all the colors should go to make it look balanced, but in the end I think I figured it out. And here we have Skarturn. Very, very cool if I do say so myself. If you ask me, I think this guy could give Bisharp some competition. Or not. Why should we be pitting two bad bitches against each other? They could be friends, or perhaps lovers. Anyway, I love this guy. Super, super proud. Next, we have the one that was probably the hardest to create conception-wise, Yanma and Delmise. I spent at least 2 days mulling this over. How could I possibly fuse a sea anchor and a dragonfly? I'm not gonna lie, I almost gave up. I thought maybe this isn't possible. How could I possibly combine a sea anchor and a dragonfly? Sea anchor, dragonfly, sea anchor, boat, dragonfly, dragonfly bug, boat, dragonfly, boat, fishing bug, fishing pole bug, fishing lure! Alright, yeah, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but I felt like such a genius when I made the connection. I was gonna make a Delmise-themed fishing pole with a little Yanma-shaped fishing lure. You know, those squishy, glittery fishing lures that you can get in bait and tackle shops that you always wanted to put in your mouth? At least, I always wanted to put them in my mouth. That's not just a me thing, right? Or maybe I'm just as dumb as a fish. Anyway, for as long as this took to think up, it actually took the shortest amount of time to actually draw. It's just a cartoony fishing pole, it's not hard to draw. The only struggle I really had was deciding where the eyeball should go, but in the end I just decided that it should go where the hand crank would be. I actually really liked making the little Yanma lore. I think I did a pretty good job making it look delicious. Anyways, that's this fusion completed. These guys do not have a name that mixes well. Delma? Yanmise? Yeah, Yanmise is better. This is Yanmise. She's your best friend and she loves fishing. Next is a fusion that actually took the longest to draw, and I can't fathom why. Every other fusion on this list took like 20 to 30 minutes, and this one took a full hour, and I don't know what happened. Anyway, this is Midnight Lycanroc and Doduo. A lot of the Pokemon that don't have custom sprites in the game are like middle stage evolutions, because when most people think about Pokemon, they're thinking of either the first or final stage of the Pokemon, especially when it comes to like fully formed Pokemon fusing with like a middle stage. It's just nobody's first thought, so a lot of the missing custom sprites in Pokemon Infinite Fusion are Pokemon that are either both in their middle stage or one is in the final stage and the other is in the middle stage. And I can't blame them, because it would not be my first thought either. Not to mention how different a big red werewolf dog is from a two-headed wingless bird. Obviously, the best way to fuse these two is to put two Lycanroc heads on a dopey little Doduo body. I didn't know at first whether or not to make the legs bird or wolf legs, but I ended up making them bird legs so Doduo isn't just like completely lost in the fusion. It ended up looking a lot cooler than I thought it would, which I am very, very happy about. So yeah, despite how long it took to draw, the conception was actually pretty simple. And thus, Lycan Duo is completed. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit obsessed with this thing. I think if Nintendo just released this thing as is, people would be going crazy about it. Yes, it has that flavor of furry bait, but it's also goofy as hell. Look at it. It has no arms. It can't open doors or reach high shelves. Oh, this poor stupid beast. Hey guys, Skella from the future here. Bad news. The speed paints for our last two fusions, got corrupted. I still have the final artwork for both of them, so you'll still get to see them, but unfortunately you will not get to see the actual art process. There's nothing I can do about that. Sorry. Enjoy some goofy memes instead. I'm I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okie dokie. 2 more to go. Goomy and Spiritomb. I knew pretty much immediately what I wanted this thing to look like. I wanted to turn the rock on Spiritomb into like a little snail shell, since the Goomy line is inspired by like snails and slugs in general. And I wanted the sort of like spiritual swirly thing rising up to look like a big splat. Apart from that, it's just a matter of sticking Goomy's goofy ass face on it. What did Spiritomb's dex entry say? That it was like a collection of like a 1,000 evil souls? What is this thing supposed to be then? Would it be a collection of 1,000 Goomy souls? You think there's some sick, twisted freak out there roaming the countryside, pouring salt on every Goomy he can find so he can at last create the ultimate Goomy tomb? Like most Pokemon, it's best not to think about the logistics. And here we have Goomy Tomb. I love them so much. Look at this goofy goober. Or should I say, look at this Goomy goober. I want to stick my hand in its face and play with it like a slime channel. If I had one on my team, I would name it Little Moist. My yucky little son, Little Moist, who has every disease. He yearns for the mines and a little sody pop. At last, my friends, we are left with our final fusion, comprised of 2 of the most hated Pokemon in the community, which I'm honestly surprised has not gotten a custom sprite yet, just out of pure spite. But, of course, I have to do everything. Our final fusion is Garbodor and Jynx. Alright, confession time. I don't really hate either of these Pokemon. I actually like them quite a bit. I've grown kind of a soft spot for really ugly Pokemon over the years. My favorite Pokemon of all time is literally Trubbish and Garbodor by proxy. Now, Jynx I'm not a huge fan of, but I just think she's silly. I can't harbor any hate for her. Look at her. She hasn't done anything wrong. Except that one thing. Honestly, there really isn't any Pokemon that I actively dislike. Bruxish, I think, is silly and kind of pretty in her own way. I absolutely adore pretty much all of the Objectmon. Aromatisse, I have never once in all of my years understood why people hated her. It's a great design. What are people so pissed about? What is ugly about this? Could you guys explain this to me? I truly do not get it. Truthfully, the only Pokemon I can really say I actively dislike the design of is the Girder line. Those are genuinely gross. There's nothing redeemable about this. Oh yes, Mr. Nintendo, I know just what the kids want to play with. Fleshy clown men with bulging veins. Actually completely nasty. Irredeemable. Anyway, back to the fusion at hand. Garbodor and Jynx were actually pretty fun to mix together. It was basically just me designing a little garbage girl. I turned Garbodor's trash bag into Jynx's hair. I replaced Jynx's bra things with can lids. Get it? 'Cause they're cans. Like boobies. I made her a little dress out of newspaper scraps and kept in Garbodor's weird, like, busted out ears to make into pigtails. And Garbojynx was done. Oh my god! Look at her! Look at her! How could you hate the little garbage lady? Have you no soul? Have you no whimsy in your heart? Gaze upon her form and feel joy.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!
Well, that's all the fusions that I got time for. That was so fun. Here's a fun little game for all you commenters. How about you make some dex entries for these fusions? Maybe I'll pin my favorite one. Who knows? We'll see. Thank you all so much for watching and giving me a chance to show off my art skills again. Go play Infinite Fusion, it's totally free and totally fun. Like this video to die instantly, and goodbye!